Boker Tov. Today's daf is Daf Ayin Ches in Mציעא in Parak HaSocher Sumnan, as we learned for Achenu Kol Beis Yisrael Nasum Batzar V'Shivya, and Refuah Shlema to all those wounded in yesterday's terrible event. HaSocher Sachamor Lo Licho Bahar. Person hired a donkey. A donkey is usually used for portering purposes, for schlepping stuff, for carrying things. And he claimed that in the original deal, the animal was used to, it was like a mountain donkey, a mountain animal. And that was the deal, that he was going to drive this animal on the mountaintop. Instead, he took him into a valley. Now, the atmosphere is different in the mountaintop versus a valley. So therefore, he didn't fulfill his end of the bargain, this socher, or the vice versa. He hired him. He was a valley donkey, Bibika. He hired him to use him in a valley, and instead he took him on a mountaintop where the atmosphere is different. Even if they're both 10 mil, or not exactly miles, they're like 2,000 amos a mil, whatever it was. Even if it was, he took him for the exact distance that he had contracted for. Umesa, the animal died. Chayav, as we'll see, because this animal is not used to that kind of air, that kind of atmosphere. That's the first mission. Then another mission says, now this sounds the same. He hired a donkey. This man rented a donkey to have him go on the mountaintop. And he took him to Bika. Here he makes a difference. Here he doesn't just say the animal died. Here he says, if the animal slipped, putter. Usually you slip on the mountaintop where it's steep and hilly, and you can easily slip. So if he hired him for the mountaintop and instead he went on the valley, which is flatter, and he slipped there, then the renter, the socher, is putter because he didn't do anything really wrong. The animal didn't slip because of his usage. He slipped because the animal just slipped. It was an accident, and the socher is putter on accidents. If it was negligence, like in a case where he hired him for a mountain, to use on a mountaintop, and he used them in a valley, or vice versa, and the atmosphere was wrong. As we'll see, the animal died because of the atmosphere, or because of some other reason. We'll see in the Gemara. Then that was negligence on his part. He didn't fulfill his end of the bargain. Over here, though, where the animal just slipped, well, you hired him to work in an area where it could easily slip on a mountaintop, and he slipped on a bika, then it's not really your responsibility. You didn't do anything that caused him to slip. Im huchma, but if you hired him to use on a mountaintop and the animal overheated, and that's why the animal became sick or died, then you're chayav because that's your negligence. This animal was a mountain animal. It's like you take one of these Alaskan dogs that are made to work out there and you bring them into a hot atmosphere. The animal sweats. It's not good for the animal. So here too, if it was a mountain donkey and you took him into a valley and the animal heated up, then the socher is responsible. Vice versa. Let's say you used to, the deal was to use him in a valley where it's hot. You took him on a mountaintop, and he slipped there because the animal wasn't used to going on the mountaintop. Then again, the socher is chayiv. In all these cases, when the negligence is obvious, then he is, if it's his negligence, he's chayiv to pay. Im huchma, if the animal heated up, meaning even if you took him on a mountaintop, he was made to use in the valley, and you took him on the mountaintop, he didn't slip, but rather he became overheated. Well, if he became overheated on a mountaintop where the air is cooler, then you're putter. But if it wasn't because the animal just got too cold there, which was or too hot there, he said he was hired to use in a valley where it's hot. If he took him on a mountaintop and he slipped, then that was your mistake. If the animal just overheated there, well, that's not your responsibility. If he overheated in a mountaintop, certainly he would have overheated in the bika, so it's not your fault, not the renter's fault. But if it was the ascent himself, the animal's schlepping up there and walking up the mountain, which caused the damage to the animal, the death or damage to the animal, then the renter is responsible because, again, the deal was to take him in a valley and you schlepped him all the way up the mountain and the animal couldn't handle the strain of climbing the mountain, then it's your fault. Let's say you rented an animal and the animal, we'll see, got some disease. Frika sounds like he was hit by lightning like Barak, but it means he was diseased in some manner. The Gemara is going to talk about that, some disease of the eye or the feet. Oshna Sangaria, or the animal was drafted into the military service or into the government service. Sometimes it was the custom, if the king or an officer was walking along and he saw you had an animal, he would just take it. He would just take it and use it for a while. And he'll say, listen, I got to get from here, point A to point B. You're walking in that direction. Come along with me. You could schlep behind me, get another animal, do whatever you want, and you could pick it up at B. Well, when I happen upon another animal, I'll take that animal and take it. And it was very custom, like, or maybe he had to go a few blocks. So he said, I need the animal. In a few blocks, we'll hit another animal. I'll take that animal there. So you won't lose your animal. That was the way that they did things. So, pardon? Yeah, right. Another one. But they kept it too long. You have a good memory. Good memories. Huh? Yeah. Oshanasangari. So the animal is drafted into service. We'll see. There's two kinds. Sometimes it's just temporary from point A to point B. Point B, he'll pick up another animal to point C. At point C, he'll pick up another animal and give you back yours. Sometimes it was permanent. We'll see. So the owner, the animal could say, listen, it's your mazel. What do you want from me? I lent you the animal. You went on a road where they picked up your animal or the animal got sick or hit by lightning or something. Not my fault. You got it. I'm not going to give you a refund. But Meso Nishba, if the animal died or was injured, okay, so he's not responsible for that. That's this man's a socher. A socher is chayiv like a shomer socher. Like as we'll see, like a shomer socher, meaning he's only chayiv for pshia or gneva and aveda, not chayiv for accidents. Then chayiv lamelachamor. Then the owner has to give him another animal or give him his money back. Right? If the animal died, sell the animal, sell the hide, add some of your own money, give him another animal, or give him a refund. So the first thing Gemara says, Maisha Resha the lokomaflik. Why in the Resha we just say if you hired him to use in the mountain and you use them in the bika, or vice versa, even if it was the same distance, you're chayiv. Why? It doesn't make any difference. It doesn't say if he slipped or if he got hot or whatever. What's the difference in the sefer where you say, well, you hired him for the mountain and you took him in a bika, and if he slipped, that's okay, because if the animal is used to walking on a mountain and he doesn't slip there, certainly he's not going to slip in a bika. But if he got too hot, then you are responsible. So why in the ratio don't we make any difference? We don't how you did it, what happened to the animal versus in the sefer you do. So Amit Beravyani, ratio shemeis machmasaber, and the ratio is very simple. He died because of the air, the atmosphere. Meaning, if the animal, as we said, was a mountain animal, he's not used to the heat of the bika. If he was a bika animal, he's not used to the cold air of the mountain, or the low barometric pressure, or whatever it was. It was the mountain air that killed him, either too cold or not enough oxygen, whatever. That's what killed him. So in the ratio we're talking about where it was the air, the atmosphere that killed him. No, in the ratio it's speaking about where the animal died because of fatigue. Very simple. The animal was used to going in the mountain and you put him in the bika. You're used to going in the bika, you put him on the mountain. The animal was tired out and died because of that. That's what we mean in the ratio. That's what it means where if you took him, you hired him from one place and you took him to the other. The ratio is speaking about where the animal was bitten by a snake. So the owner could say, listen, what'd you take him up to the mountain for? Where there's snakes up there. I told you that the deal was to use him in the bika, or vice versa. Had you taken him on the mountaintop, he wouldn't have been bitten by a snake. You took him in the bika, bitten by a snake. So these are different reasons. What the reasons why you're chayiv in the first part of the mission when you reverse the contract, either because of the atmosphere, or because of fatigue, or because it was bitten by a snake, and the owner can claim, well, because you took him in the wrong place, that's why he was bitten. He says, no, it goes like Rav Meir. The mission goes like Rav Meir. How many Rav Meir? The first mission goes like Rav Meir. Whenever you go against the understanding of the balabais, meaning he rented him to you for one purpose, for taking him in one direction. You took it somewhere else. Nikra Goslin, you stole it, and a Goslin is chayiv. Has to pay kishas is chayiv on all accidents. Again, a renter normally is not chayiv on accidents. He's only chayiv on negligence, pshia, or geneva and aveda. It's not chayiv if it was an accident. If I rented an animal and I was going with the animal, rented a car, and the car died or the animal died, not my fault. Not my fault. In fact, you have to give me another animal to make up for it. It's not my fault. But over here, this part of the mission. So why over here was he responsible? Because he changed the terms. The term was use it in the valley. Use it in the valley. You're supposed to use it in the valley. Use it on the mountain. You were Mishana. You stole it effectively. That was the Rav Meir holds. If you change the terms unilaterally, you stole the animal. And if you steal the animal, a goslin is chayiv on accidents. Rashi says, it's now his. Remember, a goslin is kona, the item. He by changing the terms, he acquired it. Now he's responsible for all accidents. He has to pay kashas like zela. So there's four options as to why the first part of the mission doesn't make a difference. Doesn't say the animal slipped, the animal got hot, whatever. You hired them for the bikan, you used them on the mountain or vice versa. You changed it, you're a goslin. That's what we're saying now. The other reasons could also be, the first reason we said is because the atmosphere was different, or because the animal was fatigued because you took him in the wrong place, he's not used to that, or he was bitten by a snake, and the owner can claim had you followed the rules, he wouldn't have been bitten. Or as we're saying now, because it goes like Rav Meir who says, if you change the terms, you're a goslin. Now, where did Rav Meir say if just because you change the terms, you're a goslin? One thing, if I stole something from you, I robbed you, a gunpoint, or I just took something from you in front of you, I'm a robber. Just because I changed the terms, I'm a goslin. Where do you find Rav Meir says that? Hey, Rav Meir, where do you find Rav Meir says at the top of the days? Elam Rav Meir that said, we're talking about the case, Meir, with the coloring the wool that we've had many times. We had it the other day too. You give some white wool, regular wool, to a dyer. Let's spoil it. I mean, he said dye it red, but Sava Shachar, and he did it black. Or Shachar was Sava right, verse verse. He told him to do it black, and he did it red. Meir Omer, no Simro. Rav Meir says, you know what? The guy's a goslin. As soon as he changed the terms, he effectively stole the wool. Now, when he stole the wool, he has to give you back wool. How does a goslin pay? Well, I stole white wool from you. I got to give you back white wool. No slave made simmer, or give you the money, the value of the white wool. Rabbi Yehuda, no, he says you didn't steal it. You give him he has the lower hand because the dyer changed the terms, right? Call him Mishana, as we said yesterday. Call him Mishano. Call him Mishana. Has the lower hand called Mishana Yado al Tachtona, means this: since he changed the terms, so you give him the less of either the improvement, you're not going to pay him for his work, the lesser of the improvement or the expenses. Rabbi Yehuda, if the improvement, even though you wanted it red and he did it black or vice versa, but it still improved that it's worth more than white wool. So if that improvement is more than the expenses, no, so you just give him his expenses and that's it. In other words, he did improve it. So he improved it, so you gain the improvement, you just pay him for the expenses. I mean, you see yourself, if the expenses were more than the shvach, you just give him the improvement and he loses out because you don't even cover his expenses. That's Rabbi Yehuda's opinion. But Rav Meir says, no, he stole it. I gave you white wool and I told you to do it red and you did it black. You stole it. You got to give me a brand new white wool back or the value thereof. So that's the Rav Meir. Is that the Rav Meir we're speaking about? The Rav Meir says you're a goslin, mimai. As we learn about Bakama, there because you changed it. Remember, you stole the wood and you turned it into a table, right? You got to pay the value of the wood, not the table. Because when you change things, Shina Masa, when it comes to what? Shina Rishus, you also need Yush. But if it's Shina Masa, I change the item itself, then I'm konit right then. So maybe over there, you're konit, you're a goslin. Why? Because you changed the item. You turned it from white wool into red wool or black wool. You changed the item. There you were konit. But over here, did you change the donkey? No, I just took it to a different venue. So maybe Rav Meir would not hold. Maybe that you can't explain that Mishnah goes like Rav Meir, and that's why if he went from the bika to the har or the har to the bika, then he's responsible. Ella, maybe it's a different Rav Meir sheet. Ella Rav Meir, the mikvas Purim. Rav Meir talks about the collections that they did for the poor people on Purim. On Purim we give matanas le'avyonim, so that they should have food. They should have a meal for the Suda. So it says there, Migros Purim, it's saying the Migros Purim, the collection you make for Purim are for Purim only. You collected it for Purim, like Bo B'Yom, they're going to give the money that day for the poor people to buy the foods, the Purim. Migros Ha'ir, Lo Sa'ir. Some don't have the skirsa, but you could just say, Migros Ha'ir, if you collect it for that city, it's got to be for that city. You can't give it to another city. And you don't check out too carefully, well, how much are they going to eat? Maybe he doesn't need the double portion, just give him a simple portion. You don't do that. But what do you do? You spend all the money on calves, meaning on meat. You slaughter them. If anything's left over, so you sell that off and it goes into the regular charity fund. But that's what the Tanakama says. Tanakama says that, but that you can't change that, right? If you collect money for Purim Suda for the poor people, make it all for the poor for them. If you gave them all their sudas and there's money left over, you can put that in the charity fund. Rabbi Omer, he says a similar thing. Miskas Purim Beinani B'Shoi Likach Ben Ratzul Sandalo Elm Kenisam Meiser B'Mamad An Sheir. Really, Rabbi Lezer is saying the same thing, same thing, but the Tanakhama is speaking about the Gaboim. The Gaboim, Rashi says, the Gaboim, the Tanakhama is speaking about the Gabai, that he shouldn't change it. In other words, if you collected money for Sudas Purim, you should use it for Sudas Purim, not for other funds. Rabbi Lezer is going on the honey himself. If they distributed money to the poor person on Purim and they said, okay, this is for your Purim Suda, he shouldn't use the money for his shoes. He's not allowed to buy even a shoestring, a strap for his sandals, unless that was a condition made by the elders of the city. Divrei Rabbi Yaakov, now Rabbi Lezer said that, but then he says, Divrei, these are the words of Rabbi Yaakov Shom Rav Meir, who said in the name of Rav Meir that you can't change anything. If you change it, it's like you stole it. Rav Shimon he's more lenient, and he says that if you gave it for a Suda, presumably the ani could use it, he could use it for whatever needs he has. But what do you see over here? The Rav Meir also said, Rabbi Yaakov said in the name of Rav Meir, that you can't change it. If it was used for, if the money was given to you for a Sudas Purim, and you change the usage, then you're like a ganav, you're like a goslin, you stole it. No, that's different. It's not that he stole it. He only gave it to him to use for Purim, not for other purposes. So there it's different because he gave it to him. Here, at least the animal was given to, to schlep stuff. You hired the donkey to schlep stuff. Over there, he gave him money for so if I give you money for food and you use it to buy tickets to a show, I didn't give you the money for that. So that's stealing. There you could say that's stealing. But over here, you can say that Rashi is adaita the mirachaliyovle, became the lava adaita the achiyovle, nimsamos becheskes bailam. The money really belongs chutz menayot sudas purim. In other words, I didn't give you the money for that. If I gave you $10 to buy food, right, and you didn't buy food with it, it's still my money. I didn't give it to you for anything else. I gave it to you to use on money. So that's different. There you could say that he's a goslin. But over here, he rented him the animal. He meant him to use the animal. He just used it in a different venue. You call that goslanus. So where do you see that Rav Meir says that that's a goslin? In the case of the dyeing the wool, you could say there he was kind of with shini masa. This is not a shini masa. Here also, you can't use the money for other purposes. God didn't give you the money for that. You stole the money, right? If I give you money for one thing and you use it for something else, I could say that's my money. You weren't entitled to use that. Elahar Meir. Maybe this is the sheet of Meir that we're referring to. Let's say you gave $1 to a poor person to buy a shirt. You shouldn't buy a robe or a bigger garment, let's say, with it. Or talis, if you give money for a talis, like you shouldn't buy a shirt. Because he went against the knowledge or the intention of the balabayit. So you see over here that even though you gave him money for his usage, you shouldn't change it. And if you change it, you're like a goslin. It says maybe it's different over there because the donor will be under suspicion. Why? People say, Amar Planya, that donor said, Zavne Lavusha, I'm going to buy him a garment, Laploni, Anya, he said he's going to buy him a talis. He never bought it. You see, the guy's a liar. Or Inami's, the guy said, I saw that donor said he's going to buy him a shirt, maybe that's why you're not allowed to change it. Not because changing the terms is like stealing, but rather because the donor will be under suspicion because he'll say, I donated a shirt for him. How come the guy doesn't have a shirt? If you donate a shirt, you're a liar. So if that would be the case, if it was only because of the suspicion being that the owner would be under suspicion, MK less than Mechshad, then you should say the reason you shouldn't change it, if an ani is given money to buy a talis, he shouldn't buy a shirt, or if you give money for a shirt, he shouldn't buy a talis, is because the donor will be under suspicion. That's why did it say because he went against the knowledge or the intention of the balabayas? Because he changed it. And that's why. So from these cases, the first two, it's not as clear that you see Rav Meir holds that if you change the intention of the balabayas, you're a goslin, because the first case could be explained because it was shemai. So the second case because there he wasn't given the money at all to spend on anything other than money, other than the food. So there he's a goslin. But over here, he was given the money to buy clothes, but he bought a different garment. If you change to that, that's also considered a gazlan. And that could be the pshat in the first part of the Mishnah, the Rav Meir. Let's say the Mishnah went on to say, if you rented a chamor and the animal became sick, was injured, let's say, because here in Babel they said Nuraisa, with some disease in the eye, pimples or something in the eye, and the animal couldn't see very well. So, what did the Mishnah say in that case? The owner could say, tough luck, use them anyway. Why? Because the animal's made for schlepping, right? The donkey, he doesn't see that well, so you lead him on. He could still schlep all your stuff on his back, not a problem. So here they said it was some eye disease. Rav Amar, if zekes, it's a kind of a worm. He's got wormy feet. It's like Rashi says, it was like a talom. His feet got wormy. The animal became a little sick. In other words, he was wobbly maybe because he had worms on his feet. He wasn't so steady. Again, that's your tough luck. Maybe you took him to a place where there are a lot of worms. I don't know. But you could use them anyway. Your tough luck. Then we have a story just to show what that Abzekis was. There was a one who said, Abzekis b'milsa malka. I saw worms, or Rashi says ash, like moths in the garment of the king. Like he was making fun of the king. I saw worms, like his garment was moth-eaten. Amrullah, they said, B'mai, which garment was it? But play kesef? Was it in linen? Play kesef means like silver, meaning it's white. Is it linen? Or is it golden? It doesn't mean gold like gold. It means that it's a wool which was dyed red. It looked like gold. Was it in his linen or in his woolen garment? Where do you see these these moths, or that it was like moth eaten? So they asked him that. Is it in linen or the wool? Some say that he answered b'tlei kesef. It was in the linen, Amar. But they killed him because he was making fun, because moths don't eat linen. They eat wool. They don't eat linen. Some say b'tlei dov, that he said that he answered that it was in the woolen garment. They let him go. In other words, if he said that I saw it in their linen garment, it's like he was making fun of the king, because it can't be true. But if it was in a woolen garment, it could be true. They let him go. We're at the first of the wide lines of the Gemara now. So the Mishnah said also, when can the owner tell the renter who rented it from him, tell him, listen, tough luck? If he said, for example, let's say the animal got sick or moth-eaten, as we said, the animal goes either maybe he was blinded or couldn't see very well, or he was drafted by an officer of the king. That's only by a draft that he'll get back. In other words, the officer of the king he seized the animal, right, temporarily. He had to go for a little bit, from A to B, and then he was going to give it back. So he's going to give it back. So the owner could say, listen, it's your tough luck. Go, hire another donkey to take you from A to B, to schlep your stuff, and then you'll pick up the animal later on. If you're not going to get it back, the king drafted it permanently, stole it from you, then he's got to give him another one. I rented your animal, and I don't have an animal now. Give me another one. That's what Rav says. It makes no difference whether you're going to get it back or not. If the animal was drafted in your direction, you're going from A to B, point A to B. And then the officer, the policeman, whoever came by and said, okay, I'm going to take your animal from A to B. I'm going to do that. I'm going to do it. I'm going in your direction. Whether you're going to get it back or not, that's too bad. That's your tough luck, because the animal's going in that direction anyway. So listen, it's your problem. You can follow the animal with you. I don't care. You can go the animal, get another animal, but he's going in your direction. It's your bad mazel. It's your mazel that the animal's taken away. Why'd you do it middle of the day? Why'd you do it here? Why'd you do it there? That you wanted to go to. You could say, right? Rashi says, right. If it's the way that you were going anyway, then you could say, Rashi says here, note he takes that and he gives him back the other one. In other words, it wasn't just me, your mazel was also garim. Right? Yeah, so schar chamor, so schor chamor, hire another one. In other words, if he's going in your direction, we don't care whether you're going to give it back or not. He'll probably let it go at some point in the future. So get another animal. Meanwhile, he's going in your direction anyway. That's what he says. Im lav, if he's not going in your direction, if he didn't take it in your direction, he took him in another direction, you're not going there anyway. Then he's got to give him another one. So that's Shmuel's opinion. So Rav says, depends on whether he's taken permanently or temporarily. Who was temporarily, he's going to give it back. Then the owner could say, if he kept it permanently, then the owner has to give him another animal. Shmuel says, makes a difference if he took it, if to give it back, or he took it permanently. If it's going in your direction, well, I don't know if that's going to help if he's not going to get it back, right? But Rashi says, Rashi's really going on. See what the Rashi is going. Rashi says, right? So it sounds like that if he's going in your direction, even if he's not going to give it back, but you'll probably get it back. Maybe that's as far. You'll probably get it back the way Rashi describes it, because the derech is that he takes it somewhere, goes to another point, then he picks up another one. So maybe you'll get it back. So it depends on whether it's going on your direction or not, according to Shmuel, and according to Rav, it depends whether it was permanent or temporary. Meisvei, Akasha now. Asocher is a chamor of you rented an animal, and the animal, like we said, got sick. Ocean Stator became crazy. In other words, he wasn't normal anymore. The animal wasn't up to its full abilities. Then you could say, it's your tough luck. You could direct him. The animal doesn't see that well. The animal is a little crazy. Fine, so you direct him. Mesa, Oshanasangar. Let's say the animal died, or it was drafted by the government. Then you got to give him another one. So Bishlam Rav. So according to Rav, who said what? That you don't have to give him another. The question is, Rav said, is it temporary? Are you going to get it back or not? So here you say he's got to give him another one. That's because this brisa, which says that if it was drafted by the king, the owner has to give him another one because he's not going to get it back. Where did Rav say that you could say, our mission says the owner could say, tough luck. If he's going to get it back, you're going to get it back in a while. It's not my problem. You'll get it back. And just stay the course, and you'll get it back. But if he's not going to get it back, then the owner has to give him another one. El Shmuel kasha, but according to Shmuel, he says it makes no difference whether you're going to get it back or not. If it's b'derech halichasa, then you doesn't have to pay for it. He says if it's not b'derech shalichasa, then you have to give him another one. El Shmuel kasha, v'chitem Shmuel nami kasha. Maybe according to Shmuel also it's not a kasha. Kam b'derech shalichasa nitla kasha, lo b'derech shalichasa nitla. It depends on whether he was taken on the direction you were going or not. So over here, when our Mishnah says he was going, that you could say because he's going in your direction. This brisa, which says that if he was drafted by the king, the owner has to give him another one, is because he wasn't going in his direction. But you can't say that's pshat. Why? Because Hamidikari Sefer, the Sefer over there says, Rav Shimon Elazar Omer, if he's going in your direction, the owner could say, too bad, take the animal. Mim lav, and if he's not going in your direction, he's got to have another. Mashma Tanakam doesn't make any difference whether he's going in your direction or not. So what's Shmuel going to do? Shmuel, no problem. I'll go like this from Shimon Elazar. Rav Shimon Elazar was like me. I'm not Rav Shimon Elazar. I don't go like the Tanakama. It's a machlokas. I'll go like Rav Shimon Elazar, who says it depends on whether he's going in your direction or not. So that's one way. Or I could say even better. The whole. It's not that there's a machlokas in Tanakama and Shimon Elazar. The Tanakama says the owner could always. The owner has to give him another one. And Shimon Elazar says, no, it depends on whether he's going in your direction or not. The whole mission is Rav Shimon Elazar. Rav Shimon Elazar, is missing from the mission of Achik That's how you have to read the brisa. You rented a chamor of Ivrika, and the animal became sick on the status or became crazy. You could say, too bad. You could still use the animal. It's still fit for schlepping stuff. Mesa, Ocean Asengari. Let's say the animal died or it was drafted. The owner has to give him another one because it was drafted. Medvar Morim, that's only if it was drafted and taken in another direction, not the direction that the renter was going in. But if he was taken on the road, the same direction he was going, they can say, listen, the animal's going in, you're going in that direction, the animal's going in your direction, maybe you'll get it later on. That's Rav Shimon Elazar says. In other words, the whole mission is Rav Shimon Elazar, because he says, V'medvar Mamurim, then when can the owner say that's when, if he's going in your direction. If he's not going in your direction, when can the owner must the owner give him another one, right? He's got to give him another one. When is that? When he's not going in direction. If he's going in direction, you could say, too bad, just pick up the animal at a later stop. Rav Shimon used to say, he just explains. Rav Shimon holds that way. Why? Because he holds, if the animal was taken in the direction that you were going, you could say, the owner could say, here it is, take your animal, pick it up at a later stop. Be him low, but if he's not, he's got to give him another animal. Says the Gemara, can you really say that the whole mission goes like Shimon Elazar? The ratio of this is more bevrika. You rented an animal and it got sick. Oh, shouldn't have to bring crazy. You could say, too bad. The Shimon Elazar says elsewhere, if you rented a chamor to ride on it, the African became blind, became sick. Oh, you shot to bring crazy. He's got to give another animal. So the first part of this price said that if you rented an animal and got sick, the owner could say, too bad, you could use it anyway. But Shimon Elazar says you rented an animal to ride on it and became sick or crazy, he's got to give him another one. So how can you say the price goes like Shimon Elazar? The answer is it's different if you hired him to ride on. If you hired a donkey for its normal purposes, was to schlep stuff to use as a truck, then if the animal became sick or blinded, just lead him in the right direction. That's okay. You could still use him. If you hired the animal, you rented the animal in order to ride on the animal, and it's dangerous if the animal becomes blind. It's like you hired a car without a steering wheel. You don't know where the animal may stop. Rashi says maybe maybe the animal will stop and fall down on a bridge, and you'll be at risk. He's going to throw you into a pit. In other words, you don't want to ride on an animal that cannot see or that's sick or sick on his feet or whatever that's sickly. That's different. There he says the owner's got to give him a new one. But if he hired him simply to carry burdens on them, to carry as a truck, to carry loads, then even if he's sick or blind, you can still use him. Amar Papa, if you hired him to schlep glassware, fragile stuff, right? Something which is, as we say in Hebrew, shavir, it could be broken, then that's like riding. In other words, because then the animal might trip or fall and break the stuff that's on his back. So it depends on those circumstances. All right, we'll pick it up from here tomorrow from Amar Rava Barafun, about the 10th line down on the page. Have a good day, everybody.
Good. Thank you.